So just feeling is healing. So that's why you can just do nothing and sit and meditate, and then literally it has benefits on health, body, mind, like proven scientifically. It's like you don't have to do anything more than just really feel. And whenever you have this urge to escape, so it doesn't need to be on the slack line, it doesn't need to be anywhere. It's just like anytime I notice this moment where I want to escape, I want to fight, flight, or freeze, basically, that's the moment where you have the opportunity to do the work.
What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Patrick Cook. Welcome to Being. Julien Desforges is a movement artist and entrepreneur from Montreal, Canada. Founder of Slackline Montreal, he has been deeply invested in practicing, performing, and teaching the balance art of slacklining and highlining for the past 15 years. His endless curiosity for healing and optimal living also guided him into breathwork, dance, kung fu, yoga, acroyoga, meditation, and more recently, hair hanging, the ancient Chinese practice of suspending from the hair. His future goal is to design and build play spaces where communities can experience these movement, healing, and play practices. Julien Desforges, welcome to Being. If you're enjoying the content, please do subscribe to the show and get a new episode delivered directly to your device every Friday. And as always, I love hearing from you. So please do rate and review the episode on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or whichever platform you prefer. Also, I'm proud to announce that the show is now available on YouTube. And you can follow us on our new Instagram page @beingwithpatrickcook. For show notes and more information, head on over to being-podcast.com. Now, on with the show. Julien Desforges, welcome to Being. How are you, my brother?
Doing awesome. How are you?
Excellent. How is my French pronunciation of your name?
That's great.
Pretty good?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, cool, man. So Julien and I met a couple of weeks ago. I had the honor and the privilege of witnessing you in your artistic glory performing at a retreat called Visionaries Immersion. We were both at here in Costa Rica. And I was just blown away, man, honestly. And honestly, we had a conversation the night before and we really connected. I didn't even know you were an artist or what you did or anything about you. So that was beautiful that we had that moment just to connect. And then I saw you on the slack line and oh my God. And I was just blown away by your artistry, your athleticism. And I was intrigued so much. I have to have you on the show and explore you and hear more about you. So I'm really excited to have you here today, brother.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm stoked to be here.
Cool.
Excited to share more of my art.
Totally, man. So I think for people who are not familiar with you, maybe we should just start at the beginning. Who is Julien Desforges? What do you do? And what's your story been? What's your path? What's your life journey been to bring you to this moment in time?
Absolutely, yeah. So I would say I'm a movement artist and very passionate about healing and health in general.
Cool.
Most recently, I've been very interested in understanding and noticing that there are so many ways that we can heal almost everything, every illness, every disease with nothing else but the body, the mind, and the spirit. So it's just like all those practices, including movement and touch and communication. And I've made a list actually, and there's like 40, 50 things on my list that are absolutely free. No need for anything material other than your body. Wow. And that can heal almost anything. And so I'm really interested in that. And my main path in the last 15 years has been slacklining. So for those of you who don't know what slacklining is, it's a balance practice similar to tightrope, but it's instead of a steel cable, we use a piece of fabric. It's basically nylon or polyester most of the time. It's about 1 inch wide. There's also wider ones like 2 inch. I use the smaller ones, and basically we stretch this between trees and we practice balance. So you can walk on it, you can do and like eventually it becomes very similar to yoga. So it's like doing yoga on a thin little piece of fabric that's elastic and moving in space. So it's very interesting how basically the physicality of it, like it's like an active meditation, but also it shows you in the movement of the line, the movement of your mind. So it's, if you're agitated, the line is going to be agitated. If you're calm, the line is going to be calm. So it becomes this physical representation of your inner world. And that's what's really fascinating about it for me. And so I've been practicing that for 15 years. And about 3 years into my practice, I went to California. I shoot a film called Highlining California, which is actually on YouTube for free. It's a 1-hour documentary about my first highline trip. And that's highlining is when you slackline high, so between cliffs and stuff like that. So we go in the mountains, usually the most epic, beautiful places, national parks. So I went to Yosemite National Park, walked my first highline, did that film, and I came back just completely transformed, and I was hooked, completely addicted. I couldn't go back. So it was like, all right, now I'm a highliner. What do I do with it? And I started my slackline business in Montreal called Slackline Mtl. I started selling gear and offering different services, mostly event stuff, like going into little events or big events and bringing a bunch of slack lines and just teaching people how to do it, basically just on a kind of freestyle basis. And then I started doing schools, and then I started doing performances, and like I got into circus and shows and like corporate gigs, and I did some highline on the biggest cruise ship in the world, and I worked for Cirque du Soleil, and it's just like everything kind of like unfolded from that passion for balance and health, basically.
Wow. What a journey. And I'm so fascinated. I have so many questions. This is so awesome. So you mentioned what you just mentioned about your mindset being reflected, the state of your mind being reflected in what the slackline is doing. That is so powerful. And that's one of the prime questions I wanted to ask you. I watched a documentary called Free Solo with Alex Honnold when he free soloed El Capitan in Yosemite, right? And in that film, they talk about how he manages his fear, and basically his amygdala, which is your fear response in your brain, is basically shut off. And so I'm so curious about how you have cultivated the calmness or the centeredness, the groundedness to go up on these high slack lines and manage your fear. Like, what kind of practices? How have you trained yourself to do that?
Yeah, I mean, fear is fascinating to me. It's really like the opposing force of love, which is interesting, in a way. It's just like more and more I'm starting to understand there's only fear and love, and everything in between. But it's like, so fear gets in the way of love, really, and on a general sense, and it also kind of makes you a little bit disabled in in your capacities, all capacities, physical, mental. Basically, when you're in fear, you're kind of in a fear response. You're not able to be 100% serving and 100% efficient.
Totally.
So how do you train that? I mean, you have to face it. I think there's no other way to deal with fear than to actually face your fears. First, notice it, and on the line, it's really a place where you get to observe your thoughts. It's really a meditation. So you see yourself, like you get on a high line the first time, you're like, why am I so afraid? Like I'm attached. It's like, but then you notice there's maybe risk, there's this, there's that. And like, what's the fear? And then the more you go into it and the more you really look at it in the face, and you're like, wait a minute, like, should I be afraid of this? And what level of fear here is necessary for my survival, and what level of fear is getting in the way of me achieving my goal?
Totally.
And so it's really about that. It's like putting yourself in a place that is uncomfortable, unstable, and fearful, and then dealing with it,
Yes.
And the only way to deal with it really is to go back to your breath, calm down, just don't think too much. Just kind of like focus on what you have control over, and don't focus on what you don't control,
Right.
So like the line is moving, you're like, oh my God, like it's up high, or it's raining, or it's windy, or it's like all these things that I don't control. So what do I control? What can I do?
Mm.
And so it's all about, for me, it's all about the breath, and it's all about just calming down the nervous system. Just like seeing how excited you get, how like nervous, how anxious you get in those situations, and then just breathe it all out. Just like, okay, now that I see this and I know that that's not what I want to cultivate, I want to just breathe it out, just let it go. And then every time I exhale, it's like I'm sending energy into my core. I imagine always like the energy going in and down, and like bringing that force back to my center, so like instead of just kind of like my energy going everywhere, I'm intentionally bringing my energy towards my own center, which is where I do have control. So if I make my core really solid and I control my breath and I control my body, this is the only thing I can control. So I cannot do anything about the rest.
Yes, I love how this maps like the physical challenge that you're describing, and it maps to sort of your inner compass, your inner world, and what's going on there, and how you manage the external and the internal in unison with each other. And like, so when we do face fear in life that isn't necessarily, like falling off a cliff or falling off a slack line, it's the same idea. It's like we want to run away from fear. We don't want to deal with it. We just want it to go away. And by turning towards it and giving it the light of your consciousness, and then realizing that it's there to keep you safe, and then you can say thank you, and I'm going to continue remaining centered and calm, especially when you're challenging yourself outside of your comfort zone, like for example on a slack line in the physical world. But in the internal world, if you're trying to go through a personal transformation or some change in your inner world, you're going to be facing that same fear. And the ego is going to be shouting at you to, it's like, oh, this is unsafe. Don't do it. Don't do it. But if you can sort of look at the fear like you're talking about and manage it and breathe into your center, that is so, so powerful. So I'm really curious though, is that something that comes innately to you, or did you have to cultivate it over time? And what kind of practices do you do off the slack line to help you perform on it?
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a practice. So I don't think anybody just comes with it, and it's like we all have it, that skill, but we all have to practice.
That's right. We all have it, right?
Yeah, totally. So it's not like I'm better than anybody else because I do this. And I've seen so many people start slacklining and highlining that were just like me in the beginning, not that good, and like the first highline I did, I was terrified, and now it's fun, but like I still have fear even now. And I think practicing slackline is the best way, and highlining, and just exposing yourself, and just standing on the edge of a cliff, and like practicing your breath. And that's all for me the best way to deal with that. But I also do a lot of meditation. I've done several Vipassana meditation retreats, like silent retreats. And it's a practice that I try to keep alive in my life. Sometimes I stop for a while, but like, it's very, very powerful because it's that same idea of like not reacting, basically. So there's fear, there's all these emotions, discomfort, like all the unpleasant sensations of like, fear doesn't feel great in the body, but like, how do I just observe it and then allow it to kind of dissipate on its own, because I cannot control it other than breathing, and like, and stay just being alive and just observing it and not panicking. So it's a lot about that for me, the practice. And other than that, I started the same year I started slacklining. I started Kung Fu, and I did Kung Fu like 3 times a week for about 8 years of my life. Nice. And I had to quit at some point because I moved out of Montreal, but like had some really amazing masters in a school in Montreal. And I've been doing a lot of martial arts. That was very helpful as well to gain that control, and also just exercise and sweat and learn how to control yourself.
Yeah.
What else? I mean, obviously yoga is amazing practice for everything, also super great healer. But I'd say that's pretty much it. Like I mostly slackline, and then,
Yeah. So I think
do breath work as well. Breath work and cold baths, like ice cold baths is definitely like a similar, again, it's like teaching you how not to react. So like you get into this like super cold bath or shower or something, and then your body just wants to react, and you learn how to breathe, and you just like stay calm, stay put, and and then allow all the feelings to be felt. It's actually my biggest mantra these days is feeling is healing. And I realized that like a lot of disease comes from this avoidance of feeling the feelings. And actually all the addictions also come from like me not wanting to feel what I'm feeling. So whether it's fear or it's anything in that gradient between fear and love, like any emotion really, some are pleasant, so you crave for it, and some are unpleasant, you don't want it. But ultimately, we're here to feel that. It's like the result of all of the past karma that was before, that is not even me. It doesn't have to do anything with me. I'm just kind of the tip of the iceberg of generations and generations of humans and other creatures even before that. And now, like, why do I feel anger or sadness or anything, and I'm realizing that it's kind of our job as an incarnated being now to express those emotions, but also to just feel them, just be those emotions in the now. And it's by just, again, in the Vipassana meditation, it's just that, you allow things to come up and you don't react to it, and you just allow it, and you just don't react, and you keep doing this. You just observe and look, and then you see it passes and it passes and it passes, and then you're just doing your job. That's what it is to be a human, So just feeling is healing. So that's why you can just do nothing and sit and meditate, and then literally it has benefits on health, body, mind, like proven scientifically. It's like you don't have to do anything more than just really feel. And whenever you have this urge to escape, and whenever you feel the urge to like I'm fighting with my girlfriend or something, I just want to leave, I just want to run away, and then I know this is the moment where I have to do the work.
Yes.
So it doesn't need to be on the slackline. It doesn't need to be anywhere. It's just like anytime I notice this moment where I want to escape, I want to fight, flight, or freeze, basically.
Yeah.
That's the moment where you have the opportunity to do the work and to be like, okay, I have to feel this. I'm so angry. It feels like this, and then it's observe my body, and I just feel it, and then it passes, and then it's like the next time is going to be different.
Yes. Oh my God, that was so awesome, dude. This is so beautiful. What you're talking about is like cultivating that deep self-awareness to recognize when you are triggered, like you're talking about. And often there's a physical sensation that comes with it, like you get hot, or you're tense, or your blood pressure, or whatever it is. And that's the moment where you can recognize, okay, I am triggered. There's something here. I don't, that I want to fight that urge to escape and just be in it and feel it fully. And that is really fucking hard. Right. And for me,
also fight the urge to want to understand.
That's true.
Always try to, like, we look at the story, and then we just kind of try to understand, but we don't realize we're just making it more of a story.
Totally.
And like the game for me is more like remove the story and just focus on the feeling. Because like you might be angry because your girlfriend did something, or you might be sad because somebody did something, but the story doesn't really matter. Like all of that story was just the opportunity for you to feel that, so it's like whatever you need to feel those emotions, life will provide. And so if it's a good positive thing and you're feeling joy, or it's a bad thing and you're feeling pain of some sort, it's all good in a way. It's all just a pretext or a reason or an opportunity that life is giving you to just feel. So like to forget about the story.
Yes.
Like if I'm in a, you're in a breakup or something, and you're like, oh my God, and just, you're so sad. Like just, if you can catch yourself and notice, oh, this is just me feeling sadness. What if I forget about the story? What if it's not about that person or that thing that's happening to me, but it's actually like an opportunity for me to like feel.
Yes.
And that's been very powerful for me.
For sure. Yeah. Well, we're meaning-making machines as human beings. We want to attach meaning because it comes with some certainty or safety, right? And so we're constantly trying to create a story about things, and then often those stories just play in our heads for years. But oh man, so feeling the feelings, and like you said, emotions are really just information. They're there to give us information about what's going on. They're not necessarily good or bad. So when we talk about negative emotions, they're not negative. They're just a different form of energy, a different form of information to help us, right? Our emotions to me are like our guidance system. They're there to aid us in whatever we need in that moment. So running away from them or trying to get rid of them is not useful, because then they'll just come back stronger, if it's fear. And then if you are that disconnection you're talking about that manifests in things like addiction and anxiety and depression and all sorts of things is that disconnection where you're not allowing yourself to feel something. And often it's something like trauma that has been so painful that you can't summon the courage to look at it. That's where deep healing needs to come in. But that's, for me, is what the stem of addiction is, that dissonance between who we truly are at the essence and then, this story that's playing in our head, and or this identity or this role we're playing, and we're not in our truest self. And it comes back to, for me, what you mentioned earlier is like coherence between the state of our mind, the state of our body, and the state of our emotions or our spirit, right? And if we can get those three things in alignment, we're super powerful and infinitely powerful to heal ourselves, to accomplish anything, right? But it's when they're out of alignment and we're too caught in our heads, or our body is unhealthy, or we're running away from emotions, that's when we get into trouble. That's when we get into disease. That's when we get into conflict. And I think that's, on a global scale is what we're seeing, like collective trauma on a global scale. So, the work that you're doing, and anybody that does this work of personal transformation or personal development, to come into that coherence has a profound effect, not only on yourself, but on the society at large, because you're influencing the people around you, and then that energy ripples out, right? So beautiful work that you're doing, man. Yeah, it's amazing. To that end, I wanted to ask you, like, how would you describe your mission? Like, what are you looking to accomplish in your lifetime? What would you like to be remembered for? Maybe is a good way to say it.
I think my mission, or my main mission, is to remind people and inspire people that we can play. We can play with life, and play with the body and with the mind, and keep being excited, and not fall into the idea that, I have to do this, or I have to do this work, or I have to make money, and I have to, and then we just slowly die inside, and there's like no more of that like inner child happiness keeping you alive, and that fire burning inside, so like I'm really, as I said, I'm like considering myself as a movement artist. I like to move in all sorts of ways, and I'm very interested in healing and all of that. And I realized more and more that like play is a huge factor, huge. Like in all those like healing practices, there's so many things that are just kind of like playful, like dancing, and chanting and singing and stuff that's just been around for so long. And it's doesn't have to be much, and even like playing cards or playing any game, and then relationship is also play. It can be play, and work can be play, and like, so I think that is kind of my main mission, or like what I'm trying to accomplish. I mean, I think there's nothing else to do as a human, like I said, other than feeling and healing and being. And so just to go around and do that and inspire people to do the same, and to just create the world that we really want to live in, and like, I think manifestation is another one of my big passion in life, how we create, a thought, and then it becomes maybe words, and then it becomes something physical that's manifested. And that's also something that I'm learning on the Slackline a lot, because it all comes from like what I'm feeling inside, what I'm thinking, and then that vibration translates into the line, and then suddenly you see that manifest, so like if I'm able to calm myself down, and then boom, I see like the line becomes super stable, and I notice I start to walk faster and more efficiently, and then I start to have a thought about like falling, or about something in the past or the future, and then suddenly it's just kind of throwing me off. Or
wow.
So yeah, like how do we manifest, how do we manifest and consciously manifest the things that we want to manifest? Because obviously we're always manifesting, and we're always manifesting fear and love. So all of our fears, if we keep thinking about them, they eventually manifest,
Yes.
And all of your dreams, eventually, if you keep thinking about it enough, it's going to manifest. But to really get to understand the level of power we have in manifestation, and to start being really aware of what am I manifesting, even when I'm manifesting my fears. Because sometimes
Yes.
I am manifesting my fears, and I'm like, oh shit, like I'm doing it right now, it's gonna happen, and I almost like can't stop it, so I'm preparing already for like dealing with the consequences, instead of being more afraid. It's like, okay, but also, yeah, like manifesting, spaces and communities and people around us that are healthy, that that's manifesting a world in which the beings can be happy, us and all the other beings. I think is the ultimate mission, for me. I wish it would be everyone's mission. We would probably live in an amazing world, and I'm meeting more and more people who have that same kind of mission to like create communities and places where we can live and train together, develop ourselves, do personal work, support each other with different therapies, with different things that are helping us to create stronger relationships, better communication and all of that. So just putting out there what you want to see in the world, and then talking about it like I'm doing right now,
Yes.
and then eventually that you surround yourself with that energy, and then suddenly you're like, wow, okay, I'm living it, and that's been more and more of my life, I would say.
We are in extraordinary times and facing unprecedented challenges. Never in history have we been so connected yet so divided at the same time. Now more than ever, there's a fundamental need and desire for us to come together in community and collaboration, to experience real and authentic connection with our fellow human beings, to be part of a tribe of people who are doing the challenging work of making sense of the world and their place in it, to have a safe place to be vulnerable and get the support we so desperately seek as we navigate the complexity of modern life. This is why I've created The Chrysalis, an exclusive online community for people who are doing the deep work of personal development, of awakening, of healing, of peeling back the layers of conditioning and unconscious programming and unleashing their full creative expression through the discovery of their life's purpose. This is for the people who have the courage to say yes to life and to becoming the best version of themselves for their own benefit and for the benefit of all. This private membership group will be hosted away from the prying eyes and ears of the big tech platforms and will feature live group coaching calls, exclusive content and trainings, plus guest speakers, workshops, and more. At its essence, The Chrysalis is about coming together in a thriving community with the shared intention of co-creating the future that we all want to live in. If this resonates with you, go to enterthechrysalis.com for more information and to reserve your spot. Chrysalis is spelled CHRYSALIS. So that's enterthechrysalis.com. Now, back to the show.
Oh, yes, brother. I love it. I love everything you're saying. And how powerful we are as individuals, I think, is so important. If anybody takes one nugget away from this conversation, you are infinitely powerful. And that is something we've been programmed to not believe, by the system or whoever, the people that are interested in more power. They want you to believe that you're not powerful and as an individual. And it's the biggest lie that's ever been perpetrated. Each of us are incredibly powerful to expand ourselves, to manifest things, to heal ourselves. And it's coming back to that power is really what's going to change the world, right? And one of the beautiful ways to do that is through play. That's something that's been so prominent for me as well. I'm a musician and I've been playing my whole life. But you get caught in these ideas or the system of okay, I have to make money, I have to be responsible, I have to do things, and you move away further and further from that inner child. To the point where most people as adults, they never play, they never do anything that feels like play, and it's a tragedy because you stop learning, you stop exploring, you stop expanding, and that is and creativity is so powerful. And like you say, when you are not aware that you're creating your own reality through your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, then you're going to continually create the fear because you're not focused on the play, on the expansion, right? So, oh my God, this is awesome, dude. I'm just so excited right now. I get to talk. That's why I started this podcast, to have these conversations, right? And broadcast them out to the world and, just to inspire people. It's dude, it's possible to live a life that's exciting for you, that's playful, and make money and make a positive impact. It's possible for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So amazing.
And often, like, hearing you say that, like, you said something about, the system, and like we often kind of blame the outside world.
Totally.
Like, oh, and it's true in a way. Like, we've been used to, like, if you go to school or you go to work every day, 9 to 5, like, it's harder to really feel your emotions, and maybe there's not a lot of space in that context to really be yourself. And like, because being ourselves mean being able to have variations, because sometimes you're really happy, sometimes you're really not happy, and that has to have a place in the workspace or at school and stuff. And I think that's something that's missing. But also, when we think about even like big corporation and all the things that we want to blame for our own unhappiness, it's also giving away our power, because and I think it's possible to develop compassion and understanding of the fact that all those corporations and whoever has like ill intentions, or like are stuck in greed, or they're stuck in work, and like think that it's all individuals that are suffering in some level. And that if they would know more about like play, and maybe they would just have more like hugs in their life or stuff like that, like it's sometimes it's just that simple. Like, how many problems on a political, global, huge level are happening because some individuals are suffering from a lack of love. Maybe they just weren't held when they were a child, and then it becomes all of this chain reaction that leads you to doing things like greedy and like not being generous and not being loving. And there's none of that is impossible to change. And also none of that is absolutely going to disappear, because there's always going to be those two forces. It's not like one day there won't be fear in the world. Like fear is always going to be there. Love is always going to be there. So it's not really about blaming that thing. It's more about taking your own responsibility for your own choices. And like, I know I live in a world where like people go to, school and like work 9 to 5, and I still have the choice to not do that. I only need to become aware of it and start manifesting the things that I want. There's nothing stopping me from doing that. And by doing it, I might inspire some other people that have like super high, places in society that have a big impact, that if they change, then they could change a whole business, and that would change like chain reaction. Eventually we get to a more happy, more peaceful world, gradually.
Yes, and hopefully sooner rather than later. But yeah, man. So I just want to reflect kind of my perspective on what you're saying, because it's totally in line that hurt people is basically what we're talking about. Is so when you're hurt and you have trauma when you're growing up or as a child, and you grow into adulthood, and that pain is unresolved, that trauma is unresolved, it's going to manifest in ways that are unhealthy for you and the people that you're around. And that's what we're seeing on a global level. We have collective trauma where, war and genocide and slavery and racism, all these things that are baked into our ancestry that are still unhealed, unresolved, that are manifesting in ways that cut us off from our heart center, that cut us off from feeling. And I think it's a survival mechanism, right? We were talking earlier about most people don't want to feel those uncomfortable feelings, so they try to push them away, right? And so when you continually do that and you're not healing, you go into your head, you go into your ego, and you get caught there. You get caught there in your ego, and the ego is designed to keep you safe as an individual. So it cuts you off from the idea that we're interconnected, and it cuts you off from your feeling. So that makes you capable of doing shit like profit for all costs and externalizing harm and, doing anything that's in my benefit, even if it's hurting you. Right. And so the solution for me on a global level, and it starts with the individual, is taking responsibility, allowing yourself to feel all those feelings, moving into your heart space and creating that coherence we were talking about earlier. So you have, it's not getting rid of your ego or, eliminating it. It's using it as a tool rather than as the master. Right. And so you have the coherence between heart, spirit, emotion, mind, and that's when you're fully healed as an individual, then you impact the people around you. And this is what, in my opinion, is happening right now, and all of my energy and talent goes towards, is facilitating this bottom-up cultural conscious revolution of healed people like yourself, like doing this work. And we start to create community around it. Like the retreat we were just at, that was a big focus, is how to create community around sustainability and healing and collaboration and co-creation. It's like, man, I'm so positive. Like, even with so much negative shit going on in the world, like, you know, you got the virus, you got environmental disaster, you got political, you got starvation. There's so many things going on that it gets overwhelming. But if you can just come back to the idea that you are incredibly powerful by yourself, you know, and do that work of coherence and healing, and then find the other people that are doing the same work, this is how we change the world, brother. Right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think also, you know, like we always have this idea of like changing the world. And I think, you know, I'm questioning sometimes because, you know, all these negative things that are happening. And I'm a balance artist, so I always just try to see where is the balance. To understand balance, you have to look at the extremes, you know.
Yes.
So like what's completely on one side, what's completely on the other side, and then maybe you can aim for the center, you know.
Okay.
So on one side you have all the disease, you know, and all the illnesses, and like right now the virus is such a huge representation of that side of humanity, and it's very strong at the moment, which means on the other side you have equally strong positive light force. You know, so it's not like really the light is there to, you know, it's the world is changing. Both of these things are changing and going up and down, and the balance is being kept naturally. So like maybe for some reason right now we're in a more intense, you know, dance moment in astrological events. I don't know what it is, but like there's more negative and there's also more positive. And, you know, when the negative is going to go down, the positive probably is going to follow. So it's not like there's ever going to be like a sun without a shadow. You know, there's always going to be light and shadow. So it's interesting. And when you surrender to that, I feel for myself, like when I stop thinking that I'm going to change the world, like I'm definitely trying to stay on the light side or like on the bright side and bringing more light, because I know that the shadow is going to always be there anyways. And so, and aiming for that center also between the two, where it's a little bit more neutral sometimes. And like, oh yeah, I don't need to do like crazy things and like do, although I do a lot of crazy things, but like,
yes, you do.
You don't need to go super far on the bright side, you know, to kind of avoid the darkness. It's like the more you go on one side, the more you're going to see the other side as well. So there's no escape really. And there's nothing that we need to change really. And it's more about allowing the change to happen because it's already happening. And that's what I like about Vipassana again, because it's not that you're sitting there trying to target certain like feelings in your body and like trying to send an intention to change that or anything. It's just, if you just let it be, it's going to change, you know? So, and then, yeah, you have a choice to make of what role do I want to play? What do I want to do with my day? You know, what friends do I want to meet? Where do I want to live? And it's kind of all about that, in my opinion. It's more like what kind of life do I want to have, and that's going to have an impact on everybody that's like following me and surrounding me. So, but it's just a choice, you know. I don't think there's a world savior. It's already there. It's the sun, you know.
Yes.
It's like there's already light.
Totally.
We're all both. It's interesting.
I love your perspective on light and dark, and I totally agree with you. It's not like we're trying to eliminate the darkness, and this is similar to what I was just talking about with the ego. It's not like you're trying to eliminate the ego. It's there for a reason. The darkness is also there for a reason. It's the contrast. You wouldn't understand what light is unless you had the contrast of the dark, right? And so it's a forever in balance. You have to have one and the other. And it's similar to what we were talking about emotions earlier. It's not like there's negative and positive emotions. It's just like you need both of them to sort of find a balance. They're there to guide you on your way. It's the same with the light and the dark, same with the ego and the heart. You know, these are all balances, right? Balances in order to navigate this experience. So what you said about not trying to change anything, that's a trap that I definitely fall into. Like it's like I'm trying to fight, you know. It's like I feel like I'm being harmed or wrong, you know, there's wrongdoing going on, so I want to go out and fight, right? But it's like, wait a minute, okay, that's not the way to do it. You know, it's just like, okay, how can I come back to this equanimous, centered, grounded being and fully in coherence and healed and just be, right? And that's why I called this show Being. It's like, how can we come back to just being? because we've been so programmed into this doing or identities or money and we're chasing all these things and we're never fully in the present moment. And that's where all the magic is, right?
Absolutely. And you said it, when you start to feel that like sense of like, I need to fight, like, you know, when even like people who are fighting for really good things, you're still fighting. And it's been proven that like war against drugs, war against this, war against this is always made more of it, because when you give it importance, you're manifesting more of it. So that's so simple. As soon as you notice that you're in a war within yourself because you think you have to fight for something, if you can catch yourself in those moments and just be like, oh, wait a minute, like, what's the peaceful way of doing this, you know? And it's always compassion. It's always like just noticing that like there's nothing to fight for, you know? You already win if you don't fight. And that's something I learned from Kung Fu. Like really my masters it's like a school that doesn't do competition or anything like that. And really my masters have taught me that you learn martial arts in order to not fight. You know, you learn how to fight in order to learn peace. Because when you have full control of yourself, you're fully confident. You're like, I know I can hurt this person. And I know how much it hurts when I get, hit. And so I don't want that for myself. I don't want that for the other person. And I know I have sufficient skills to even, if somebody attacks me, I can just kind of gently put that person down and just like help that person to calm down. If I'm a real master, if you're a real master, you're learning how to not fight. Yes. And I really love that philosophy.
I love that as well. I think there's a nuance though, in just what we were talking about, not doing anything, so there's this idea that, how can I describe this? So, and this is my personal experience, and I'm just asking for your reflection, is that I feel like I need to be aware of the darkness in order to inform my choices, right? And so it's not like I want to live in the darkness or go fight the darkness or the power structures or what it is, but I also want to understand what it is and where it's coming from, and in order for me to take aligned action towards, a more balanced world, right? And so, but the trap I fall into is like, okay, if I'm giving my attention to it, how much am I helping manifest it? You know what I mean? So there's this kind of like, okay, well, I want to understand it so I can make good choices, but wait a minute, if I'm giving it my attention, am I helping to manifest it? You know what I mean? So is there a nuance there that you play with? Like, I haven't quite figured that one out.
I mean, it is fascinating, because like, if you're like afraid of something and then you don't want to just also avoid that. You're just like noticing, oh, I'm afraid of this thing. Oh, I don't want to manifest it. So like, I don't think about it.
Exactly.
But then you're manifesting fear.
Yes.
And then therefore you're manifesting your fear. So it's like, how do you kind of like look at it and notice there's nothing to be afraid of?
Well,
it's again, I think it's if you're looking at the darkness or anything that you would judge as being negative, if you just stop judging it, then it's not negative. If you don't say this is a bad thing, who else is saying this is a bad thing? It's really like judgment is another big part of my practice. And like, I'm playing a lot recently with shame and blame, and realizing that like how whenever we blame or shame something, like basically saying something is wrong, or even saying something is right, like right or wrong or good or bad, like just noticing those moments where it's like, or when you say like, oh, it sucks now, that sucks. And it's like, well, does it really suck? Like, what does that mean? It's what it is. And like, it's what's happening now. So it doesn't suck. It's like life right now. It's exciting. It's like, it's what it is. So to move away from this sense of, dualistic. But we have both forces. That's the irony of life. Like you said, the ego is there always. Yeah. And the ego is making sure that we remember that we're different. And then the soul, or whatever you want to call it, on the other side is there and making sure that we remember that we're all connected. And we're always both. So we're always connected and we're always different. So like this interesting play, that's where balance is, that slackline never stops moving. It's always kind of like, never one or the other. It's always both.
Oh my God.
Sometimes more of one, sometimes the other.
Yes, brother. Yes. And I think you just nailed it though. It's non-attachment. It's non-attachment to the darkness or the light, right? And so it's the emotion that you attach to it, or the meaning that you attach to it. Like you said, if I'm looking at the darkness and I'm judging it as darkness, then I help to manifest it because my fear and that negative energy or whatever goes into it, right? But if I'm looking at it with non-attachment to understand it, then that's different because I'm not attaching fear or a judgment or an emotion to it. So that's that. You just gave me great clarity around that. So thank you. I appreciate that. I want to come back to this idea of healing.
It's all about the vibration that holds, really.
That's right. Yes, exactly.
It's like whatever story is outside, it's always just outside. And what's really manifesting is your vibration. So like whatever reflection you see in the story, it's all about what you're feeling. And that's what you're manifesting.
Yes.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Because your internal world is reflected in the external world, right? Whether you realize it's happening or not, that's what's going on. Yeah. So that's important to recognize. Like if you have chaos in your external world, then it's best to look internally because you probably have chaos internally as well. Right. And so, and if you have, it's like the slack line, if it's moving all over the place, you go inward and you calm yourself inward, then all of a sudden the slack line stops moving. Right. So it's a perfect metaphor. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. You mentioned in the beginning about healing, and I want to come back to that because I think it's super important and super practical for people. For somebody that maybe doesn't understand what that means, like we know what healing, like a cut or a broken arm means, but what does healing mean on a mental or emotional level?
I think healing is like it's a process, it's healing, it's happening, it's never stopping. And nature does it. Like nature is always living, and it's like healing is living and dying at the same time. It's like always shedding, letting go of things, and then like welcoming new things. And so healing is for me means transformation. It means movement, it means energy moving. And it's another interesting kind of irony of life where like we think like there's sickness and health, and there is, but also I like to, it's like even if I have tension in my body, for example, and like you want to get a massage to like try to get that tension out, but then sometimes I think, what if the body itself is a tension? Like it's matter that has been like densified. So like if you look at it as like light and dark and like sickness and health, like I would say health is closer to light, which is, like there's space, there's openness, there's movement, like fast movement, where darkness is kind of like more dense, slower movement. And so like, but it's all there existing. Like my body is attention in space. Like it's the matter has come together and now it's stuck there. So like, and in cancer is just like a very densified, even more densified and intensified collection of cells, or like densified matter.
Right.
So it's just another level of tension, but it's all kind of just in that realm of either like tense or expanded. And so like, if you're too tense, for example, like again, what's the balance, because like if I'm complete light, I'm no longer being in a body, I'm not even there, I'm exploded in space. And if I'm super dense, maybe I'm like filled with cancer and I'm dying. But like in the center is kind of the path for me to like balance life. So for me, healing means balance, really. And it's like always finding the middle ground and the core, like the essence. What's the essence of this? And that's also kind of changing all the time.
Yeah.
But so it's like healing is like not seeking for necessarily more enlightenment or trying to avoid pain. It's more about just finding that balance where like, okay, maybe there's a part of my body right now that's too dense, or it's dense to a point where it's creating like a disease, and so I need a little bit more light there. So how do I bring space? And that's why I'm saying like just things like massage, or like even sometimes it's just talking to someone. You know, you might be super sad and you're feeling your heart is collapsing and it's kind of dense and it's hard and it's painful. And you just call your mom and then you feel it relaxing and opening. You know, you just have a nice talk with a friend.
Yeah.
Or you just rest. Sometimes just like resting in a hammock or like sleeping at night is just like, it's going to allow that like spaciousness and like the space between the thoughts also. That's another like interesting thing where we often think, oh, like meditation means not thinking, and like no, it's like creating space within the thoughts. It's not ever stopping the thoughts. Right. It's just creating more and more space. And if you have like so much space that you have no more thought, you're just kind of a zombie in a way, or like you're maybe like going in another dimension. And if you have so many thoughts and you're like on your phone and you're like overstimulated, then that's another imbalance as well. So it's like, again, finding that center.
Yes, balance. It keeps coming back to balance, which is beautiful, and coherence, right? It's like that. For me, what healing is when we're born into these physical bodies, these incarnations as a soul, we're those perfect light beings. We're not, we're whole. Right. And when we move into this 3D reality, we start getting tugged in different directions. And that's what this life experience is about, frankly, is like, okay, we have to go through this 3D reality to have these experiences, to go out of alignment, to get pushed and pulled in different directions, to learn how to come back to coherence in this lifetime. That's really what this is for me. Right. But the pain of being out of alignment is excruciating. And it's like, it manifests in all sorts of ways: disease or addiction or abuse or trauma or whatever it is. And so it's our job, it's our responsibility to recognize where we're out of alignment, be it physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and do whatever it takes to come back into alignment, back into balance. And that's for me what healing is. Whatever it's going to bring you back into balance with yourself, so that again you become this whole, grounded, symbiotic being that can now interact with nature and the world and other people in a way where you're not projecting your trauma, you're not projecting your fear, you're not causing harm, you're not causing abuse. You're doing what's best for you and everybody at the same time, and that's what healing leads to, is balance within the individual and then balance on the global scale. And that's why it's so powerful. That's why I'm doing this work, and I believe that's why you're doing it as well, right?
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Yeah, you're talking about the discomfort of being out of balance, and like I had this very interesting thought 2 days ago when I was walking in the forest. I understood that like when I'm balancing on the slack line and I want to correct the movement and bring it back to the center that you're talking about, I never go against the direction that I was going. So meaning like if on a physical term, like if the movement is going to the left, I'm not thinking, oh, I want to go right. I'm thinking, first of all, I want to go to the center, but also in order to get there, I'm going to have to kind of absorb that motion. So I'm going left first and then bringing it back to the center, where oftentimes we think about the opposite, like this is not good, I want that. And then we just kind of react. That's the reaction. And like, so sometimes that's why it's interesting to learn how to play with fear and discomfort, because like when you're feeling that thing, you're just like, okay, now I'm a little bit off here, but I'm not going to react and go the other way. I'm just going to go there like you want to go there right now. So allow yourself to go there and then just kind of gently bring it back to the center. And often we're very hard with ourselves. We're just kind of slapping ourselves, each other like left and right, but to start thinking about this, like, oh no, it's actually absorb it and kind of bring it back to the center.
I love.
Don't be afraid of being out of balance.
Yes, we actually, my kids and I were watching some of your videos before we got on this podcast, and I now thinking about it, I saw you doing that on the Slackline, and that's a perfect example of, when we are feeling something, we are feeling that we're out of alignment, be it an emotion or something. Instead of wanting to run the other way, instead of wanting to do the opposite, feel into it, go towards it, feel it fully, and then use the flow of it to bring you back to center, just like you're talking about. That's absolutely beautiful. Like, because it's too much energy and friction to immediately go the other way. why don't you just you feel into it, you give it the light of your consciousness, whatever it might be, and then it dissipates, and then it allows you to easily come back to center in a more flowing way where it's more natural and less energy expenditure, right? Oh, that's awesome, dude. I love it. I love this metaphor between slackline, and it's got so many practical applications, right? I'm fascinated now, man, because you know,
15 years I've been doing this.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I know all the metaphors. Everything
Amazing.
is like slackline.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. Well, I just got a couple more questions for you. This has been so awesome, Julien. I really appreciate your time today. But creativity, we were talking about play and like reinvigorating that inner child earlier. And I think what I was saying earlier, when we come to this life, we get out of balance, we get disconnected, out of harmony, and we pile all this shit on top of our truest essence. It's difficult to see that inner child, right? So for me, it's about peeling back the layers that are covering up our creative channel to really let it flow. But when we do that and get out of our own way and let the ego subside and the mind subside and just let our creativity flow, then there's something magical that happens there, right? And I'm a songwriter, and I've had this experience a few times where, you know, I'm in a place and a song just comes to me. You know, it's like I didn't come up with this. It's like I'm channeling something, but my channel is open to receive something. Is kind of how I feel about it, right? Or how I think about it. It reminds me of an anecdote I like to recall. Is Tom Waits, the songwriter, is driving down the LA freeway and he's in his car and shit. And this is years ago, and you know, he gets this hit of inspiration. It's like, dude, like, you know, he's talking to the muse, like, you know, dude, can't you see I'm driving here? I can't just pull over and like pull out my guitar, you know, like go bother Leonard Cohen or someone. Yeah, I'm busy right now, you know, which I thought was awesome. But, you know, it's like we get these hits of inspiration. So the question I want to ask you is, you know, when you are being creative, where do you think that genesis comes from? Is there some kind of external genesis of the creativity, or is it internal, or is it a balance? Like where does creativity come from?
I mean, external and internal always happens kind of at the same time. It's like hard to know what comes first.
Yeah.
There's definitely movements, you know, in nature. There are moments where it's just like, I feel like, oh, sometimes I just can't sleep, for example, and I'm feeling super creative, and it's just like, oh, it feels like now is the time. Like I'm being creative. I want to write. I want to do music. I want to do these things. And other moments I would try really hard to come up with, you know, like a paragraph of a text of something, or like anything music, or
Yeah.
And so for me, it's interesting. It's like if you go fishing, you know, like and when we go highlining, I compare it to fishing sometimes, because we set up these lines, you know, we just kind of show up, set up the lines, and then we just kind of wait. And then one person goes on the line, or sometimes nobody goes. It's like you're waiting for that moment, you know? So there's a big part of the creative process for me that is listening to the tempo of the greater universe that you're in, you know, like just pay attention to like what you feel like doing now. And sometimes I feel like sleeping, you know, sometimes I feel like creating 3 songs, or like working on the show, or like working on my things. And like, if I start to like try to control this rhythm, or I'm, you know, like get mad because now I'm not producing enough.
Yeah.
What's the purpose, you know? And it touches a little bit of what I was saying earlier about like the work period that we kind of force ourselves into. It's like, oh, you have to be productive from 9 to 5 every day, and you'll have maybe 2 weeks of vacation per year.
Ridiculous.
Where like I started living my life maybe 15 years ago in a way that is more like, I wake up in the morning, I have a huge list of things I want to accomplish in my life. It's all there in my computer, and I just kind of look at it, you know, and then I just feel what feels more like I want to do this right now. You know, what's the priority? What's just comes up now, and I do that, and I'm often just very efficient at doing it because I feel like it's the right time for it, you know. So I think for creativity or work or anything, it's like the same thing, you know, to not go against the flow, but to really tap into the flow. And that the key is listening, you know. Listen, how am I feeling when I wake up in the morning? Like these days, I don't know, I wake up in the morning, I just want to stay in bed. Usually in Costa Rica, I was waking up at 6, 7 in the morning. Come back to Canada now, I'm like, waking up at 10, and the part of me wants to like judge that, and then I'm just like, well, now that's it, and then I feel super creative at night, and I start doing things at night, and that's now, and that's like I go with that flow instead of going against it.
Yes, I love that. I think the most important thing you said in that whole thing is listening. Being self-aware to listen to your body, listen to your energy, listen to your impulse, your creativity, and honor it and just go with the flow. Like you said, we get caught in these systems and ideas that we have to do things a certain way at a certain time for a certain amount of, it's like, dude, no, that's not what life is about. That's not what energy is about. That's not what, our love is about. Love is flowing. Energy is flowing. Creativity is flowing. So learning to flow with it and not fight against it is challenging for a lot of people, especially within the system that we're supposed to live, right? So yeah, that was beautiful, dude. And it all comes back to, going with that flow and just being present and being self-aware. But so many people aren't self-aware because they're caught in their minds, they're caught in the stories, they're caught in the grind of their day-to-day. They're not listening. They're not listening to anything. And when you don't listen to your body, it's going to start shouting at you. And that usually means an accident or a diagnosis or something happening in your life to get your attention. So you do start paying attention, right?
Yeah, and let's face it, attention deficit is a real deal situation in the world
100%.
right now with like the technologies, and like it's very something. That's why part of my mission is to bring people on Slacklines, for example, and like doing these practices and meditating and stuff, because I noticed even myself like getting caught up on like Instagram and like being on your phone, and like it's something, because when you think about it on a deeper level, if we don't have this ability to listen, I mean, nothing can work. Like we can't communicate, we can't have proper relationships, we can't build families, we can't have projects, we can't do anything, if we're not listening to each other, and if we're not listening to the outside environment, like the flow and the movement I was talking about, to be like catching up on what's happening here, and you're just like focusing on doing your thing, and then you start to feel completely disconnected from everybody else, and one day you wake up and you're like, what am I doing? What's this thing?
Awesome, man. This has been so amazing, Julien. I have one more question for you before I let you go. And it's this: if you were to take all of your experiences, all the wisdom you've gained, all the knowledge, and distill it down to one message or one sentence, what would it be? Feeling is healing. Yes, brother.
It's being yourself, and that's it. That's the healing. There's nothing else to do, really. Everything else is just a variety of ways to do the same thing.
Love it. Thank you so much,
and everything.
Yes, Julien Desforges. I really appreciate it today, man. Do you want to let people know where they can find you, or check out your work, or work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can find me on Instagram, juliendesforges.slackline. I think I'm about to change my name for Slackline Freak. So,
ooh, I like that. Slackline Freak.
Slackline Freak. It's easier when you give your name, Yeah. But other than that, my business is Slackline Montreal. So slacklinemontreal.com. What else? I'm starting an online Slackline course that's going to be called Slackline Mastery. So check that out. It's soon to be out. I'm starting on that.
Awesome.
And if you want to join me for like retreats and stuff, I'm doing some retreats right now in September in Canada. Highline, Slackline, Wim Hof, and all those healing things.
That sounds epic, dude. Yeah, that tickled my fear just thinking about going to that retreat. So maybe I'll sign up. Maybe it's a sign. I have to listen. Right on, Julien Desforges. I really appreciate your time, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this work.
Have a great day. Cheers.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. And if you enjoyed the show, please do subscribe, rate, and review. For more information and show notes, head on over to being-podcast.com. And if you're ready to make massive changes in your life and looking for the support and accountability to make it happen, I'm currently accepting applications for my private one-to-one coaching. You can send an email to patrick@patrickcookcoaching.com. We'll see you next time. And remember, life is now. Live your being.